the entertainment highlight of the week.
Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello.
Good day.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good. Oh no! I just had no. Oh, yes.
Loch Ness.
Goodness.
There we go. Fair fight.
Okay.
Fair fight. Easy to get tongue-tied in the middle of the Loch Ness bonanza.
Yes, well, that was the Loch Ness game. It's not about Loch Ness, and it's not a game.
But this is the Benji and Nick Show, your number one place for cult television. That's right, TV from the past, TV you might remember, TV you might want to forget. Old things, we talk about it, we discuss it, we put it through our fine tests. Will it float? Will it melt? Will it fly? Who knows?
Will it dissolve?
Will it dissolve into gold? And today, what are we talking about, Nick?
Well, I think I should explain that I'm not Benji.
And I'm not Nick.
And what we're doing, we're chatting about John Carpenter's The Thing. In fact, we just called it The Thing, but it's obviously John Carpenter's Thing we were talking about. That sounds rude. Also, Jamie Anderson, who suggested we watch it last week, will also be along later. In a moment, we'll be going through your emails. Last week, I posed some questions for you, which some of you have dutifully answered. And those emails are sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. But in the meantime, Benji?
The Benji and Nick Show is proud to be sponsored by The Village Shop, the online e-store run by the Unmutual website and Coit Media Limited. Your one-stop shop for all things Prisoner, Dangerman, see what I did there, and Patrick McGowan, including DVDs, Blu-rays, books, CDs, audio dramas, clothing, photos, homeware, and gifts. New items are added weekly. I could do it like on the shopping channel.
Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, sort of,
apply.
The Benji and Nick Show listeners can enjoy a 10% discount on all purchases by using the code LOCHNESS10 at checkout. Further donation will also be made to Hope House Children's Hospice at no extra cost to you. Address is because they always do that, don't they? They always say www.theprisonershop.co.uk. W. Should we have a look in there, see what's rocking?
Yeah. What have we got?
I always just immediately go to the second-hand section, actually, the used collectibles, because really obscure things keep popping up in there.
Oh, what have we got?
So looking, you can get an original iStation Zebra lobby card from the cinema, from the Kino.
I've got the Prisoner Lotus 7 print for $3.99. That's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all. Oh, Mary Queen of Scots original 1971 movie brochure. That's pretty rocking. You can get so many good things on there. It's a really nice little place. I particularly like the homeware and gift section as well. You can get some great stuff in there to give for gifts and for people that might like cult television and things like that. In fact, I
keep forgetting to bring along that thing that Rick Davey of the Unmutual sent me, to make out of cardboard.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. You fool, you old fool.
I wonder where it is now. Steph has hidden it on a shelf somewhere, I think. That's my wife, in case you've never heard this podcast before and are not on first name terms with my wife.
She's just called your wife, isn't she?
Yes,
Mrs.
that's
Briggs.
her name. My wife Briggs.
My wife Briggs. Colonel Brigington Smythe. Now, of course, we usually pick something, so here's something I found which is quite interesting. It's a penny farthing planter, which can only be bought in the UK. So it's a flower-shaped wind spinner on the front wheel with a plant pot on top. But it looks rather good. It'd be very nice in the garden if you have a garden. And if you don't, then, I don't know, shove it in the living room.
Yes. There's a new offer as well that we introduced last week using the code You Old Fool.
Fool.
All capital letters, no spaces, You Old Fool. You can enjoy a 40% discount off the 550-page book, The Callan File, the definitive guide to the classic TV series Callan, written by Robert Fairclough and Mike Kenwood. So that's another one to look out for. Also, you might like to have a look at my site, nicholasbriggs.com.
Absolutely.
And see if there's anything you fancy buying there. We won't bother having a look.
I'm on there now. I'm already looking. I'm already looking.
No one goes there, except that because I moan in this passive-aggressive fashion, usually someone buys. So who will it be this week? Will you go to the nicholasbriggs.com site and buy something interesting? There's some interesting artwork, photos,
DVDs.
books, DVDs. I'll sign them all if you want me to.
No, get involved. Come on, why not, eh? And you can also visit my shop as well, www.ebay.co.uk. I don't have a shop. I've actually there's bits of wood in the garden. If anybody wants to, I'll tell you, I'll do you 2 for £5, or I'll tell you what, I'll do you 5 for £2. Then you can't say fairer than that, right? You can't say fairer than that.
You can never say fairer than that.
Oh, you know, I'm a sound blow, can't I? Sound blow at me. Sound.
Oh, he's changed region. I feel like I've turned a dial on an old-fashioned television and gone to a different channel.
Your meal. Oh, yes, Klondike Windmill. Right.
Klondike Windmill,
yes. I don't know what that... I think that's from something.
It's from your mind, which is what's worrying.
The windmills of my mind.
So we're going to have a look at your emails. Bear in mind, last time I asked the following questions. 1, is the Doctor Who story Mark of the Rani a pleasant surprise? 2, what are your true feelings about Aqua Marina? 3, what are these strange enchantments that start whenever you're near? 4, does anyone remember the Aeronauts and Desert Crusader? Which is called what in French? Benji? Desert Crusader?
Thibaud ou les Croissants.
Thibaud.
Thibaud les Croissants.
Thibaud ou les Croissants.
There's Thibaud ou les Croissants.
Thibaud or the Crusades. That's what it meant in French. Who's your favourite Quatermass? This is question 5. 6, what do you know about the Long Chase? And 7, what are your best Loch Ness moves? I'll tackle the first one, shall I?
Yes, be my guest.
It was called Questions and Answers. It was sent on the 21st of May in the year 0939 from Mark Bosley, I believe. Yeah, Mark. Dear Benji and Nick, I'm a long-time enthusiast for both your podcasts. Well, he's referring to the Big Finish podcast there, I think, available at bigfinish.com. I thought I would attempt to answer the questions posed by Nick in the Press Gang podcast. That's what we were talking about last week. Mark of the Rani was a pleasant surprise. It was a pleasant surprise as a viewer back in the day to see Colin Baker in a more thoughtful story, one which might be seen as an ancestor of the celebrity historical, such as The Unquiet Dead. It had a less harsh tone than, say, Vengeance on Varos. Well, I think most things have a less harsh tone than Vengeance on Varos. It was also a pleasant surprise that Nick was watching some Doctor Who which wasn't made in the 1970s.
Very true.
So I don't know why I did it. I just picked it out. No, I picked it because on BritBox they said, here's here are some cheery Doctor Who stories.
So you thought, I'll get involved.
And it just said the Mark of the Rani was... I
like the idea of the reverse of the celebrity historical. That instead it's actually just a normal story, but then they bring somebody, a real person from the past, to star in it. And this week, Admiral Lord Nelson will be playing Binro.
Very short with only one eye.
Right, yes. 2, what are your true feelings about Aqua Marina? Well, Mark says, she's a nice girl, as I recall. It's been too long since I last watched Stingray. Of course, Jamie Anderson last week said, bit needy.
Bit needy.
What are these strange enchantments that start whenever you're near? Mark says, judging by the paucity of my mail during Valentine's Day, I can only conclude that no strange enchantments of any kind happen in my presence. 4 was the Aeronauts and Desert Crusader, and he says, I don't remember these. Anyway, I'm too old, I remember. Who else? Does no one remember them? You see, the Desert Crusader is really interesting. It is. Why don't you believe me?
No, I do believe I'm listening.
The Desert Crusader thing is really interesting because it was in France. Well, I read an article about it and it said, the problem with kids' TV in the 70s in the UK, there's not much money spent on it. Whereas the French used to make these really expensive series that looked like movies, and they made them for a family audience. And Desert Crusader or Thibaud ou les Croissants is an example of it, because it looks like a movie. They shot it in Tunisia, and it's just amazing. The lead guy is impossibly handsome. They make disparaging comments about his acting ability because apparently he was dubbed by someone else in the first series. I don't mean dubbed into English. In French, he was dubbed by a different French actor who could act. But this guy is, if it's your kind of bag, folks, he's real eye candy. He's a beautiful, beautiful man, isn't he?
So
I remember
when you watched
wanting to be him when I was a kid. I thought, God, I wish I'd grow up to look like that. It was never to be, of course.
He's wonderfully chiselled, isn't he?
Oh, he's incredible.
When you watched it then, did you watch it with subtitles or did you watch
no,
it
they
with
dubbed
dub?
it. The BBC dubbed it.
And was it a good dub?
No, it was terrible. I seem to remember we always used to take the mickey out of it because everyone's lips carried on moving after the speaking stops and things like that.
Funny.
We used to imitate it at school and say, "Yes, I am speaking to you like this."
yeah.
And wiggle our lips out of it.
It's all a little bit wrong.
But I mean, the sword fights were incredible, and it's beautifully done. But the thing about the series is, it was made in the wake of, I think the French moving out of, I think it might have even been Tunisia, and there was a whole thing about Muslim Christian tension in the air at the time. So this was actually a thought-provoking and quite radical piece, because the idea, the main character, what he was trying to do was make peace between Muslims and Christians in the story. And the basic thrust of the story is that the actual Muslims and Christians in the territory were able to live in harmony on a day-to-day, person-to-person basis. But it was the Crusaders, on both sides as it were, although the Crusaders were Christian, who were stirring up the trouble all the time. People from outside. And he was always balance. So that's why the French title is Tybalt or the Crusades. It's basically, you'll be stuck with the Crusades if you don't take notice of what this guy says. The Aeronauts was a futuristic thing. It showed France as a futuristic sort of technological power, and it was about these guys who's higher than high boys. Da, 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 da. I don't know whether the speed-loving aeronauts. I don't know whether the theme tune was from the French one, because of course it's an English theme tune. But yeah, it was these guys in aeroplanes doing cool stuff. I can't remember much about it.
A bunch of French jets, by the looks of what.
So I remember being disgruntled with them as a kid because they clearly were badly dubbed and not English, but at the same time they were, my favourite word for talking about TV shows these days, seductive, because they were so beautifully made. And that music, that beautiful period theme tune for the Desert Crusader is composed by the same guy who did the music for the movie of A Man for All Seasons, so it's
big budgets, like good quality stuff.
And it's a fantastic piece of rousing medieval music, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's got, that's why I'm surprised, because I wouldn't strike you as the sort of medievalist yourself, so it's quite interesting that you'd enjoy that.
Oh, I did like all that stuff. Anyway, the fifth question was, who's your favourite Quatermass? And Mark says, I was going to say Andre Morel, who of course played it in Quatermass and the Pit, because I've only seen the TV and film versions of Quatermass and the Pit. Andrew Keir is a pretty good Quatermass in the movie, I think. But
Andrew Keir is my favourite, actually.
Andre Morel, I just wins it by a mile. It's a phenomenal performance.
They're all brilliant, though. It's like choosing your favourite child, isn't it?
I choose Andre Morel as my favourite child. Then Talking Pictures TV jogged my memory. I'd seen the Quatermass conclusion with John Mills in my teens. Maybe a good subject for a future podcast, definitely. And now I'm not sure. Yeah, have you ever seen the final Quatermass thing with John Mills?
No, I don't think I have, actually.
It started its run on Talking Pictures last night, and I kicked myself. I missed it because I was too busy finishing off The Human Frontier. But that's another story. 6, I have no idea what you're talking about. The Long Chase. I can't find it anywhere. It's an old 1973, I want to say, but I think it might be earlier. The only thing I could find was its theme tune. Any luck?
No, there really isn't. There's really not a lot to. It's on doyouremember.co.uk.
I found an entry about it. It was a kids' TV series. I seem to remember it was all shot on film. Bizarre that I remember that.
It must still exist, surely.
Well, exist.
Oh, here we go. The Long Chase.
The Long Chase. Here we are, 1972, it says. TV series. The theme tune does exist somewhere, but there are no clips of it anywhere.
There's somebody on this TV forum. I just like this response to somebody said on there. They said, "Yes, I remember watching it in the early 70s. If I remember, it was the early 70s, if I remember rightly. It's never been repeated or made commercially available on VHS or DVD. Perhaps the tapes have been lost. I'll phone BBC Enterprises and ask and let you know what they say." I just love the idea of this. Oh yeah, all right. Well, I'll just give him a ring. Hello, is that the BBC? Hi there. Yes, it's all my
BBC Enterprises doesn't even exist anymore, so it's interesting.
Yeah, this is from
them.
2014.
Yeah, they still wouldn't have existed then. It would have been called BBC Worldwide.
Yeah, it's been BBC Worldwide for donkeys, isn't it?
But Glyn Houston is the star. Who played the head of the power station in The Hand of Fear and Doctor Who. Kiss the children for me. Jan Francis is in it. Brian Peck. I don't know anyone. Hilary Minster. Squirrely Funster, as he was known to his friends. Yeah, so there you go. Good at playing Thales is Hilary Minster. He was in Planet of the Daleks.
A classic performance.
He's also in Hello, Hello, Hello.
Playing a Thal.
Or Nazi. He's also in Battle of Britain playing a non-speaking Nazi. I don't know whether this podcast now gets banned because I've used those words. Apparently, if you use that word...
What, Nazi?
you get banned. Yeah, you get banned.
No, don't. That's rubbish, surely. Surely you can discuss history without...
Now, here's the more important thing. What are your best Loch Ness moves? This is what Mark suggests. He said, I would burst into song, maybe Good Golly Miss Marley, or the Beatles' Good Day Sunshine.
Sunshine.
And try not to give my opponent to get a word in edgeways. It might be a slightly ungentlemanly move, though. Well, interesting. Interesting, that, isn't it? I hope you're both well. Many thanks for all you do. Like a lot of other listeners, this and the Big Finish podcast are highlights of my week. All the best, Mark, set from my Samsung device. How dare you? Well, interesting. Thank you.
Well, we've got another one here from Nicholas Ferraza. Subject, answers to questions, brackets, but probably not the ones you were expecting. Dear Benji and Nick, I've decided to write in and answer your questions from last week's podcast. However, upon reflection, I've decided that I didn't really like the questions that you put forward, so I've come up with my own questions instead. The answers to these entirely made up new questions are as follows. I just love the people that message into this podcast. It's just so fun.
They're fantastic.
Number 1, yes. Number 2, no. Number 3, upside down. Number 4, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and every other Sundays. Number 5, Shane Rimmer's left earlobe, although the right one's okay too. Number 6, whatever Benji had for dinner last night, can confirm I had fantastic Persian lamb kebabs. With
so that's what you know about the long chase. Persian lamb kebabs.
Number 7, that distracting little piece of gruel that sits in the corner of Emrys Jones' mouth for the duration of the Mind Robber episode 4.
Do you know the bit he means?
I vaguely remember it, but
it's not even gruel, it's just spittle.
Like a sort of dry, like white.
And it's really white. Yes, it's horrible, and it's gone by the next episode, luckily. But what can you do when you're in the middle of a continuously shot multi-camera thing? No one can nip in and get that out.
So, the spittle's been there for the most part of this episode, so we should probably keep it in.
It's revolting. It's making me lick the side of my mouth just thinking of it.
Yeah, there was a bloke I used to know that. He always used to put the cigarettes in the corner of his mouth and rest them there. And of course, what happened? He developed spittle there. I hope you find these responses satisfying, even if they don't answer the questions you've asked. On
very satisfying.
An unrelated note, I want us to suggest the Star Trek episode Spock's Brain as the subject for a future podcast, perhaps even a commentary. It's a dreadful episode and I love it to bits. Regards, Nick Ferraza.
The funny thing about Spock's Brain, actually, I've always thought it was dreadful, but the last time I watched it, I thought, this is actually rather good.
I think that with all the Star Trek, though. It's sort of the things that you think are rubbish, you watch back and you think, yep, that's all right, actually. That's fine.
Good stuff. They knew how to make a drama. Okay, here's a whacking great email about our main subject. John Carpenter's The Thing, it's called, sent on the 20th of May. in the year 1851.
Good year.
It's from Rob Doyle. Hi both. I hope you're safe and well. When Jamie suggested reviewing The Thing, one of my favourite films, I got a bit excited. I was 10 when it was first released, in 1982. I probably saw it when I was 12 or 14, far too young, but its story and visuals have stayed with me ever since. I'm not surprised, mate, at that age. So I thought I'd give you some background. You may already know this, so feel free to read out as much or as little as you want to. I'm going for the whole thing, Rob. I'm going for the whole thing. Yeah. Unless it gets offensive. The film is actually a remake of an earlier 1951 film, The Thing from Another World. Did you know that, Benji? I did.
I didn't.
Didn't you?
No.
The original film is really interesting, actually. I would recommend you watch it. I mean, it's old but it's got a real... made by 50s and 60s film producer Howard Hawks. It was an adaptation of the John W. Campbell's novella Who Goes There, which, of course, John Carpenter's Thing is as well. Campbell helped adapt the story for the film. It's a great companion to the 82 film, but didn't have any of the aliens' abilities to mimic and replicate anything living. If you've read Who Goes There, you'll see the 1982 film is a pretty faithful adaptation of Who Goes There. Carpenter has captured the paranoia of the story perfectly. The Thing could be anyone, and you wouldn't even know. What lifts this film to an all-time classic, in my opinion, though, is the cast, who really gave their all, filming in a very inhospitable environment, and special makeup effects of Rob Bottin. He had started to make a name for himself, uncredited work on the 1976 King Kong, Star Wars, and full recognition for The Fog, The Howling, and then The Thing. Everything was practical, and it shows, even by today's standards, the effects still stand up. And they do. They absolutely do.
Absolutely.
Computer graphics effects didn't exist, and there is a solid feel to everything. There was a prequel made in 2011, I remember that, again called The Thing, set in the Norwegian camp who first found the alien, but it was a very soulless computer FX effort. I didn't see it, did you?
Nope.
No. I hope you enjoyed the film as much as I do. You might also be interested to know a longer version of the novella, Thought Lost, was released last year under the title Frozen Hell. It has 3 extra chapters and expands upon the discovery of the ship and creature. It would be wonderful if Big Finish could adapt it. Anyway, sorry, I've gone on for far too long. Thanks, Rob Doyle, sent from a cold Antarctic camp.
That's really interesting, actually. It's a
You
lot.
did not go on for too long, Rob. That was fascinating. It was good I knew a lot of that, but it's good to get that info out there.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show, that you can watch something like Watch The Thing, and there's so much more to it than meets the eye, and it's far deeper than just a film,
I would recommend that you watch the original, Benji, if you can find it, because it's very old-fashioned and American. Everyone speaks very fast, and it's all blah, 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 blah. But the best bit in it, The Thing, is just a bloke in a big boiler suit who looks a bit funny, and I think they say he's made out of vegetable matter or something. It's all a bit pathetic, but there's a beautiful moment where they don't know whether where it is, and it suddenly opens the door and it's just there. And it's really, I get chills just thinking about it. Just the door opens and this blooming great bloke is standing there, and I think it's in quite a wide shot, but it's there just staring at them. It's really good. It's worth a watch.
I'm just looking at the trailer for it now. I love that logo is the same.
John Carpenter used the same logo, you see. It's great fun. Now, what I want us to do, Benji, before we move on to talking about The Thing, I want us to invent some more questions for next week's podcast. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea.
What questions do you want to ask for next week's, for people to write in and answer? You can answer the previous week's ones first, but this is for now. What do you think? 1.
Okay. What did the controller from Day of the Daleks have for breakfast? Ideally, what does he have for breakfast, rather?
Yeah. 2, is the Seeds of Death actually rubbish? That's my question. 3.
How many wheels can you have on a train before it starts to look silly?
Brilliant. Yeah. Any next question?
Is it?
Yeah, go on.
That's the question.
Is it?
Is it?
Is it? Okay. 5. Are you sure? And 6. is
Where's the most peculiar place to leave your pants? There we go. Just showing how old we are here.
to leave your pants.
Pantaloons. I'm feeling particularly.
7. There were 7 questions last time. 7 is going to be in the day the Earth caught fire.
That was a
which
fire.
Actor, which star actor makes an uncredited appearance? Uncredited early appearance. But his voice is unmistakable. How about that?
Very good. I like that.
This, unfortunately, these questions have come out in 28 point on this document, so they're just massive. I'm going to make them smaller. So let's
Sort of
shrink it down.
global catastrophe.
So, just to run through those questions again, what did the controller from Day of the Daleks eat for breakfast? Somehow I missed that out. Eat for breakfast. Is the Seeds of Death actually rubbish? How many wheels can you have on a train before it starts to look silly? Is it? Are you sure? Where's the most peculiar place to leave your pants? And in The Day the Earth Caught Fire, which star actor makes an uncredited early appearance but his voice is unmistakable? There you have it.
Solid bunch of questions there.
So let us have the answers to those, all the previous week's questions, which were, as you may remember, is the Doctor Who story Mark of the Rani a pleasant surprise? What are your true feelings about Aquamarina? What are these strange enchantments that start whenever you're near? Does anyone remember the Aeronauts and Desert Crusader? Who's your favourite Quatermass? What do you know about the Long Chase? And what are your best Loch Ness moves? So your favourite Quatermass was Andrew Keir, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think I've just got a soft spot for memories.
Very good.
He's very good.
Very good, very good.
So it's acceptable. It's acceptable.
John Carpenter's The Thing. Benji.
There we go. Well, I've got loads of time for John Carpenter. Obviously, one of my favourite films of all time is the original Halloween, and so of course, what I think is fab. This is a fab film. Everything about it. There's so many things to discuss, really. But I would say first and foremost is that John Carpenter really knows how to build suspense. With Halloween, it was all about the suspense of being stalked and that the shape is out there hunting down Laurie. In this, you've got that suspense of the creature is out there, but you don't know whether it could be in with you. You don't know. Yes. You can't trust anybody. It's the classic base under siege scenario, but instead of it being on the outside, it could well be on the inside. And I think that's fab because you get everybody rubbing up everybody the wrong way. And it's twitchy, trigger fingers everywhere. And, I love that about it. I think it's a really classy bit of work.
It's interesting to note that apparently it's more faithful to the original short story. Who goes there? And the business about it being able to change shape, and that's not in the original film at all. I suppose they thought, God, we can't do that. That's too complicated. We'll just make it a big bloke in a boiler suit.
Well, I suppose as well. This is what year was this? May, was it
1982?
So it's 1982, and this is the time where, dare I say it, kind of special effects in its raw physical formats is starting not to peak, but getting to the point where it's highly impressive and you can do things that you'd never be able to do before. When you look at something like I'm just comparing the two because they're both marvels in their own right. But if you compare like The Thing to say Jason and the Argonauts, which is a gorgeous film, and I love all the special effects. But when you look at how far the effects have come, you can see exactly what you were saying. You can see them sitting there thinking, "Well, we could do that. We could actually have it change in shape. We could do this properly."
Yeah, I mean, it really. I don't think I suppose An American Werewolf in London has the transformation effect, and I think that was Rob Bottin as well. I'm not sure.
You had a very American Werewolf in London had a very good special effects, didn't it? Transformation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I transcribed an interview that a journalist for the old Starburst did with Rob Bottin. You know, they visited America, and it was my job in the office to transcribe the tape. So I feel like I've met Rob Bottin because I listened to him for hours on end, but of course I didn't meet him. And I don't know whether he's even still with us, Rob Bottin. And also his name looks like it should be pronounced Bottin, but I know from listening to the interview that it's pronounced Bottin because that's how he pronounced his name. And he was a real character in the interview recording. He was so enthusiastic and everything was dramatic. The way he spoke, it was a joy to listen to, and he was, so into his own work. Always talking about bladders and air hoses and things like that, you know. And there's a lot of bladder work going on in the thing,
still with us,
isn't
by the
there?
way.
Oh, good. He sounded like a youngster, I remember at the time. How old would he be now?
61.
61. So he's not that much older than me. I'm 50. I'm 60 next year, folks. So he's only a year and a bit older than me. So he's a strapping young lad. I just wanted to mention, Benji, you know the story about the Halloween mask, don't you? What it is?
Yes, William Shatner's face.
It's William Shatner mask that they just ripped open a bit. Yeah,
but things like that, you know, it's instinctive. There's something when it's like it's a face itself. If you just distort it slightly, you know, paint it a matte white, and you've got, you know, inside out or whatever, you've got a completely terrifying thing.
Yeah. I'm going to say something a bit controversial about John Carpenter.
Okay.
I used to be a really big fan of his work, but actually, he's a bit variable, isn't he? And is The Thing the last, in inverted commas, good movie that he made? What did he do after The Thing?
Let's have a look. Made more Halloweens probably, and wrecked the franchise.
I don't know whether he did make them. Did he though?
Featured directing, so I'll have to go into his IMDb. So after that he went on to he did Christine, which we talked about, didn't we, in the podcast? Yeah. Christine, the Prince of Darkness, not the good not Dracula. He did Big Trouble in Little China. That's a classic.
Is it?
Village
I've
of
never
the
seen
Damned,
that.
1995. Again, not the proper one.
No, that's not very good. It's got Christopher Reeve in that, hasn't it? That one.
I think so. I'll double check. Yeah, I think as it goes on, they will become less memorable.
I like The Fog.
I've not seen the original Fog. I've seen the new The Fog.
Oh no, watch the original. That is very
Christopher Reeve and Kirstie Alley.
Yeah. It's pretty pappy, that Voyage to Village of the Damned, and that the Fog original has Jamie Lee Curtis in it, who's also in the Halloween, isn't she?
Yep, absolutely.
He also did a second Halloween, or was it Halloween 2 or 3 because his original idea was not to have Michael Myers keep coming back. His original idea was to have
different stories, weren't they?
Different stories, and I like the one where he goes off and does a different story. What's it called?
Halloween 2.
Something of the... Oh God, I've seen it and I absolutely love it, but people hate it and think it's terrible. I like it.
It's just Halloween 2.
No, it's not.
It's not. Halloween 2.
Night of the something, or
there's Season of the Witch, isn't there?
Season of the Witch. That's it. Season of the Witch. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And it's about he was going to do a series of films that were themed around Halloween. So, and the idea that have you ever seen Season of the Witch?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
I really like it, and I think you're a bit down on it, aren't you?
It's good. It is good, but
it's kind of like an X-rated Doctor Who.
It's it's a completely different thing, isn't it? That's the way I kind of look at it.
As well.
It's very different. I like the idea, and I can't remember for the life of me if what was its reception? Because I can't remember if it's
got
deemed to be
really
brilliant or if it's really
no,
terrible.
No, it's got slagged off terribly because it wasn't Michael Myers, and that's what everyone wanted, which is why Halloween 3, it's back to Michael Myers, and then you just get these endless stories.
I'm confused here because I always thought it was Halloween 2 was Season of the Witch, but
it's 3, is it?
But apparently it's 3. But and Halloween 2
our
is the
numbers
return
mixed
of
up.
Michael Myers. But I, in my head, have it that it's Halloween, then it changes to something else, and then they bring back Michael Myers. But I guess not. I guess it's the other way around.
Yeah, I thought that too. Well, we're both wrong.
Well, Halloween with when Michael Myers comes back, dreadful. They just changed the whole thing. Like this is what, because obviously John Carpenter only did the first one, as you said earlier. Because then it changes, and it just becomes a gore film.
Yeah, exactly, a slasher movie.
I'm just getting this all wrong. Apparently, he did write Halloween 2 as well. There we go.
Did he write Halloween 3 though? He did Halloween 3.
No, that was Tommy Lee Wallace.
Gosh, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I liked it. It was a bit like, and so John Carpenter had no involvement in Halloween 3 at all.
I'll double check. He produced Halloween 3. And that was
because
it's last...
it's like there's a Quatermassy feel to it, and John Carpenter loved Quatermass because Prince of Darkness is basically a sort of Quatermass rip-off in terms of its story, which I don't remember very well actually. I should go back and watch that. But yes, I think he's a bit variable. And the controversial thing I want to say about The Thing, firstly, I say it became possible to make The Thing. It was in reaction to Alien being so successful in 79-80.
Obvious, yeah.
And then I think, other studios thought, gosh, what can we do to cash in on this sort of monster thing? Oh, I know, we'll remake that classic thing there. Oh, and John Carpenter loves it. We'll get him to do it. And I had never seen, apart from Alien, I had to watch Alien sitting in a cinema virtually on my own one afternoon rather than going to A-level history lectures. With my feet up on the seat in front, and every time something nasty happened I closed my feet so I couldn't see what was happening, and I'd never seen a film like that before for Alien, and in order to make it acceptable to me I got someone to tell me blow by blow what happened in it beforehand, every single bit of the movie, so that none of it surprised me, because I couldn't bear the idea of being so...
I was going to say, you went in with the idea then that you were going to be scared out of your wits.
Yes. And I still was scared out of my wits by Alien, but I'd been terrified of horror movies. I think the first horror movie I'd snuck into was Omen 2, and I'd found that pretty disturbing. I think I was only like...
Omen 1's the best.
No, of course it isn't, but I hadn't... But that's the first horror movie I saw in the cinema. I was about 15 or something, but I did look much older than my years.
I find that sorry, carry on.
I might have been 16, I don't know. So when I went to see The Thing, I was at the Edinburgh Festival with some friends, and they said, let's go and see this new sci-fi movie. And that's how I had to see Alien, because I knew it was sci-fi, even though it was horrible. I thought, I've got to watch it, it's got spaceships in. Likewise, The Thing, I thought was a sci-fi movie, even though apparently it's horrible. And I remember going in with great trepidation into a big cinema in Edinburgh. And just beforehand, possibly for the only time I can remember in my life, I'd had some Kentucky Fried Chicken. And when you think of all that gristle and stuff that you get in all that, in a plastic paper bin of disgusting, mechanically retrieved garbage. Can you imagine watching The Thing and all those ghastly things? I felt like I was watching on screen what was the contents of my stomach most of the time. And I was really near to throwing up a lot throughout the movie, because all those ghastly sequences were, if you've never seen anything like that before in your life, that I wasn't so much scared as I was in a state of shock at the appalling grotesqueness of it.
Oh, it's really vile, isn't it? When you see
the two standout moments for me in the vileness that I was appalled by is when the head rips off the guy's body and slides down the side, and then its tongue lassos something, pulls itself over, and then legs burst out of its head, and then it scuttles off like a spider. Plus the fact that I'm slightly arachnophobic anyway. And before that, the guy appears to be having a heart attack, and so someone is trying to shock him with a, what are they called? Those paddles, electronic defibrillator.
Taser.
Yeah, and as he goes to put the thing on his chest for the third time, suddenly the chest opens up like a mouth and bites the guy's arms off. and the sequence where the guy's going with his bleeding stumps, they actually got an armless actor to play that part. If you notice, they put a mask with the other actor's face on the armless actor's face. So because the only way they could think of doing it with a man with his arms chopped off was to have someone who didn't have any arms to play the part.
Well, I suppose it's a logical way of doing it, isn't it, really?
Well, it's all these practical solutions. Now they think, we'll just map that out and just add that in later. But every single one of these effects was...
Which is why I think these films often, as time goes on, they're still watchable and they're still fantastic. That's the thing, they don't age and date in the same ways.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is, apart from that sort of groundbreakingness of it, I actually think, controversially, that it's not that good a movie. I don't think I'm going to invite Jamie in. I don't think that the tension is that well managed. It all seems a bit perfunctory to me, and there are a lot of very boring shots of people just standing around in groups. And I think for me, the real success of the movie is Kurt Russell.
Definitely.
I think without his brooding presence, it would be nothing. I don't find any of the other characters that interesting. I think Kurt Russell is astounding by virtue of doing virtually nothing. He just looks moody and pissed off most of the time, doesn't he? And I love his huge hat.
Oh, his huge hat. Yeah, that is fun. That is fun. I mean, the thing is, it is a case, I think, of, who you have in the movie makes it. And there are a lot of memorable moments in this, but equally there are a lot of forgettable moments as well. But, I mean, I just liked it because I like the concept. I suppose, and I think by liking the concept... I enjoyed
watching it again, but it didn't seem so extraordinary. I think it's one of those films that does suffer if you know the ending. A lot of films don't suffer for that. It is all about the building of tension, but if you know what the tension's building to, it doesn't seem to play the trick, really.
Doesn't do it. Yeah, I mean, no, exactly. It's very true. It's like watching. It's completely different, and you won't relate to this at all, Nick. But it's like the other night I was watching Euro #96 on the telly. Because I thought I'll enjoy this because it's from the past, and I had a thoroughly good time. I had a few beers, watched the Euros.
Is this football you're talking about?
Because I knew the outcome of the match. I knew what the score was because it was a legendary match, England versus Holland, 96. And so
was it England won?
England, yeah. So it was 4-1. Okay. So really a great performance by England. But of course I knew the results, so there wasn't that same level of like absolute anticipation for what's going to happen next. I was kind of like, it's going to happen now, isn't it? Yep, there we go. Different thing is same can be applied to this film, I suppose. And I think it's because I don't particularly like it. I mean, I can watch Alien over and over again because I just love the visual flair and style of it, but there's no great visual flair in the thing. I mean, I think there are millions of really clever things. I mean, I was marvelling at how they shot the opening sequence with the dog running away from the helicopter. All the dog stuff is fab, I think, as well, for like really...
Well, the way it just stares as well. I mean, great dog training. I was expecting the dog to get a credit at the end. I was very disappointed.
Well, it was like
I imagine there was about 5 of them. That sequence with the dogs is horrible, isn't it? When all that stuff starts growing out of it, and that dog's so frightened it starts biting through wire.
It's just anything to escape.
That's very disturbing.
It reminds me a bit of the original Day of the Triffids, the 50s film. In the lighthouse, when you see it moving and doing that thing. I remember that scared me so much when I first saw it.
Well, it's sort of revolting, isn't it? And misshapen.
Misshapen, revolting and unnatural, isn't it, really? Where in reality it's just that, in that film, say it's just a man going like that.
In Day of the Triffids.
But, it does...
I also love the bit when they find that guy when he hasn't fully transformed, the ginger guy with the beard, and he runs out and they surround him and he's just there looking like, and I remember being totally confused as to what was happening when I first saw it in 1982, and I was, you know, in my early 20s then. I was 21, and he just sort of looks around, he's got these ghastly malformed hands where it's still, you know, and he just looks at them and goes, you know, and they just torch him, don't they? And just
so grim, so grim.
The noise it makes is really really quite upsetting.
Talking of noise,
so listen, I'm saying it's not got much of an impact, but at the same time, I'm actually I'm still getting thrilled by it. You're
thinking about it, aren't you? Mm. I mean, I would say, talking of noise, I would just like to add, as well as we always do, music is absolutely outstanding, isn't it? It's a fantastic soundtrack.
It's Ennio Morricone, isn't it?
Of course. So, you know, it's going to be, as soon as you see his name in the credits, you think, yep, this is going to be great.
Imitating John, because John Carpenter did a lot of music for himself, didn't he, in other movies? Like for Halloween.
Did Halloween, yeah. And it is, I know exactly what you mean, it is incredibly Halloween-y, isn't it?
You can imagine John Carpenter going, no, I want the dum-dum thing that I do.
Yeah, I just want that, because it's pretty much, when you actually, I didn't really think about it, but of course, like, you know, one of the staple bits of the Halloween soundtrack is that dum, da-dum, dum, da-dum, and then you've got the ding, 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 and I suppose it's exactly the same with this, because this is just the slow version, isn't it, really? Just da-dum, da-dum. In fact, it's really good. I was quite impressed by how long the ending credits went on, actually. I was just listening to the music, but it goes on for a good long old time.
So what do you give? I'm giving it, actually, I was going to give it 3 stars, but I've actually gone to 4.
It's definitely a 4 from me. Definitely
4 exclamation marks.
I think it's 4 exclamation marks out of 5. You know, a worthy contribution to the pantheon of cult, I feel.
Yes.
You can put that on a t-shirt.
And now we're waiting for Jamie Anderson to join us. He's just wrapping up an important call.
Da-dum. Dum 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 da-dum. Dum da-dum. Oh, it makes me want to go and watch Halloween now. Really in the mood for it.
Oh yeah.
The music makes it is one of the best soundtracks, I think, actually, Halloween.
Iconic.
It's
that kind of music that made me feel that I could do music. You know what I mean? Because of the simplicity of it. It didn't bamboozle me. But
again, it goes back to what we were saying. Are we just talking now? I can't work out if we're on the air or not.
No, we are on the air.
We are on the air. It goes back to what we were saying before the podcast. We were talking about simplicity in films and things as well. And in music, I don't think you necessarily need to be clever or have the world's craziest melodies and instruments. If you're savvy with what you've got, you can do incredible things with limited things. Sometimes it's nice. I think we've mentioned this before on the Big Finish podcast, because so for those that don't know, me and Nick both composed music for audio drama and things like that. But sometimes it's nice to limit your instruments and say, I'm going to use this, and this, and that's all I can use. So I'm going to use one type of synthesizer, and I've got, because in a way you can almost think of it in the olden days of the budget. You know, like I've got a violinist, I've got a synthesizer, and I've got a piano. And that's all I've got. And then what you make out of it can sometimes actually define what you're making.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Look back and say, that was, it's like synth sounds, isn't it? Defining synthesizers, which really define certain films and themes, like Doctor Who.
Yes, I mean, I often, because otherwise, if you have too many sounds, it's just like someone with loads of paint just going in, and you end up making a sort of strange mess that doesn't look like any colour at all.
Yeah, but then at the same time, if nothing looks like that colour, then that's perfect, isn't it, really? Because you think nobody else has got that colour.
Yes, I know, but I just mean, otherwise it becomes indefinable and horrible and a mess. That's what I'm saying. If you have too many colours, it's best to say, right, this is going to be mainly red and blue, or you know what I mean. And with instruments, you don't want to just keep adding loads and loads of different instruments, otherwise it just becomes a noise.
Absolutely, it's about
Horrid
using
noise.
things tastefully, isn't it? Really, and injecting a bit of class. I mean, I can't talk though because I just buy loads of synthesizers all the time. But that said, it's nice. It's nice to be limited, and I think it's this is a fantastic score. I mean, who am I to criticise Ennio Morricone's work anyway? Quite frankly,
No, who are you?
I'm me.
Who am I? All right, well, just wait for Jamie now. So, Jamie, you've joined us.
I have. Hello.
Hello. We just finished talking about the thing.
Oh, what thing is that?
That thing what we done.
Oh, the thing. Ah, right. Okay, but will the audience know what the thing is?
I don't know what the thing is. Yeah.
Well, we've just been talking about it. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Benji, would you like to make a summary of our views?
Your findings.
Trashy rubbish. No, I'm joking. No, we gave it a solid 4 out of 5, and
right too.
I thought it was, and Nick had a bit more criticism than me, but then as we were discussing it, sort of ended up sort of unconvincing himself, and ended up sort of saying there were no real standout things in it, and then by the end of it, you were there going, yeah, there was that bit there. Yeah. No, I think we gave it very positive. We kind of said it how it is. Great story, great special effects, some memorable moments, and a fantastic score.
Great. I mean, I fully agree. So thanks very much. Bye.
Bye. What do you make of the ending? I remember finding the ending just really unsatisfying and confusing when I first saw it. By the way, Jamie, I told a story of how I watched it at the 1982 Edinburgh Festival. It might have even been, I don't know, maybe it was an early screening.
Interesting.
1981. I don't know.
I've just got off the phone with somebody from Glasgow, so how very Scottish.
Hi. Plates.
Plates!
There's a little joke from the last podcast there. Yeah, and also hilarious. I said I just had a Kentucky Fried Chicken for I think the first and only time in my life, just before I saw it, and I felt like Rob Bottin's special effects were depicting the contents of my stomach.
Nice. I did once have a KFC which contained spinal column. Yeah.
Did it have bladders that squirted out green liquid?
No. It was just a bit of back of skull and some of the spinal column. But interestingly, it didn't put me off. So
you didn't say complain. You just carried on.
I think at the time I complained, and this was in the Oxford High Street KFC. I don't know if it's still there, and I think they replaced it. And then I was put off for about 3 months, and then another one, and there we go. Anyway, this is but it reminded me certainly the vertebral nature of my chicken box of The Thing.
It is still there.
Oh, it is. Thank goodness. There you go. If you want to go and get some spinal column,
it's not open at the moment.
Well, when it does reopen at some point. Anyway, what was the question? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't actually remember now.
Oh, you were talking about where you first saw it, 1982, and if you saw it early and all that sort of stuff, and the ending.
The ending. That's what I asked about.
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, I was so. I think when I first saw it, I was so exhausted by all of the kind of terrifying, horrible special effects sequences and the spidery head and the burning of the dog and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I was just relieved.
You just want to have a lie down in the snow like them, basically, don't you, at the end?
Oh, thank goodness, that's it. But there's very few films where I can so clearly recall special effects sequences.
Yeah, you don't forget those, Harry, do you?
So visceral in my memory. I just, maybe Event Horizon, a couple of the effect sequences in there, but I can't bring to mind many films that have created such a strong impression and did on the first viewing.
It is unlike anything anybody's seen, and even to this day it's like, wow, that's. I'll tell you what, another The Fly is a good example of
I hate that
The
film.
Fly is pretty grim, isn't it?
I can't stand that. It's just so revolting.
Your face is great then.
I really. And the last shot of The Fly where they just and it just explodes and you just think,
grim.
I think, you see, I much prefer An American Werewolf in London, which I think is the same movie as The Fly. It's essentially the same plot, a transformation thing that happens to a hapless victim. And yet it's done with style and wit and charm and love and I love that movie. Do you not like it?
It's a decent film. That's a very, very decent film, and it's a film which has got sort of legend status, hasn't it? Again.
But
it's got Jenny Agutter in a shower. What more can I say?
Well, it's not all about those very visual elements, is it? You can't just throw effects and gore and stuff at it like you're saying with The Fly. But I don't think The Thing does just throw effects and gore. It is effects heavy and gory and gross.
And those effects really do. You don't look at any of them and think this is outdated. They're all really effective.
Effects. Yeah.
Yes. They're still revolting. They're not laughable.
No, they're great and impactful, but none of them are there just for the sake of being gross. They're all shock moments that work within the film.
Well, they follow the logic of what this alien creature is and what. Yeah,
exactly, learning and transforming and changing and blah.
But what does the ending mean? What is happening there? Is one of them the Thing?
I don't know.
It's open to interpretation, isn't it?
Oh, it's open to interpretation, is it?
Yeah. Isn't that the hallmark of a great film? I'm sure 2001 fans would say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's what I do, because it's when you can't think of an ending, you just go, well.
Well, even recently, watching Devs.
Yes.
The ending there. What exactly does that really mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
And is that annoying, or is that okay, or is that good that it leaves you thinking and wanting more? I don't know.
That's a very good point. What's your opinion, Benjamino?
Couldn't tell you. Could not tell you.
I think that's the best thing, is if we leave the end of this podcast to interpretation and leave them wanting more.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good idea, isn't it?
Ended it now. No, I can't do that.
We'd be destroying everybody.
I want to thank Jamie for suggesting The Thing, though.
Great pleasure.
I want to thank him. No, I
no,
do.
you best not.
What are we going to do next time? I don't think we should make it Jamie's choice.
No,
but we can certainly...
don't make it my choice.
We could watch that, Jamie's Choice, that 1982 series. It does sound exactly like the type of thing that they would do with it. I guess we should probably... Are we going to finish The Sunmakers? How far are we through it? I can't remember.
I think, we should do the episode 4 of The Sunmakers, shouldn't we? Commentary. Doctor Who, The Sunmakers, 1977. Tom Baker, Louise Jameson, John Leeson as K9. And the Gatherer!
And the Collector.
JB's putting some fabulous faces. It looks a bit like The Thing, actually. He's just ripping his...
Spider face. Spider head.
Yeah.
Pretty glory.
It also looks like you've got fantastic dreadlocks, Jamie, because of the TARDIS console position behind you.
On Zoom, I hasten to add, for anyone who thinks that Benji's taken some hallucinogens.
No, yes, we're on Zoom. We're zooming.
Yes.
Zooming around. Well, in that case, I suppose we better get nice and close like this. Ooh.
Okay. Yes, don't forget to send your emails to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com and answer our 7 wonderful questions, which I feel for the sake of Jamie Anderson, I should mention them. 1, what did the controller from Day of the Daleks eat for breakfast? 2, is the Seeds of Death actually rubbish? 3, how many wheels can you have on a train before it starts to look silly? 4, is it? 5, are you sure? 6, where's the most peculiar place to leave your pants? And 7, in The Day the Earth Caught Fire, which star actor makes an uncredited early appearance but his voice is unmistakable? That's goodbye from me.
That was weird. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.
That's the wrong podcast.
Oh, of course it is. Silly me.
You're supposed to just go...
Oh, yeah, of course. That's so difficult, isn't it?